morning. My name is Maria Fernanda Cortes. I'm working at Rappi, specifically in the growth team, and today I'm going to present an application case that we did in Rappi for the growth team. So this is the agenda for today. First, I'm going to present the overview of the project that we did, then the conventional ways of solving these types of problems, then the Uplift modeling, that was the way in which we solved this problem. Then I'll explain deeply this methodology, and finally I'm going to present some conclusions. So, well, first, as a growth team in Rappi, one of our goals is to accelerate the users, that is, leading the users to make additional purchases in a determined period of time. So the strategies that Rappi uses for this is making actions such as campaigns of monetary incentives, offers, and advertisement. And the business decision of Rappi is to select to which users to contact with these types of campaigns. So for making this decision, Rappi has to take into account some key points. So the first one is each of these strategies has a different cost, and we need to reduce the cost of marketing campaigns for Rappi. Also, we need to select users for these marketing campaigns, taking into account that we need to generate incremental impact, that is, making additional purchases that won't be done if we do not make these campaigns. And finally, also, we do not want to annoy the users unnecessarily. So, well, this is the conventional way in which these problems are solved. So the conventional way is predicting which are the good customers and which are the bad customers. So usually what companies do is making a pilot campaign, and with this a pilot campaign in which they contact some customers. Then with the data of this pilot campaign, they build a model for predicting the probability of response given that the user was contacted with the campaign. And finally, the users who have a high probability of buying with the campaign are the ones who are selected for the campaign. However, this methodology has some weaknesses. So let's say that the ready users are the ones who have a high probability of buying with the incentive. It may be that some of these users have a high probability of buying with the campaign, but they are so prone to purchasing that they will do it even if they are not contacted by the campaign. So this implies that we are spending unnecessary costs in users who will buy anyway. So this model, the principal weakness of this model is that it is made for maximizing the response rate, but not the incremental effect of the campaign in the users. That's why we didn't use this conventional model, but we used another model. That is Uplift modeling. So the key point of Uplift modeling is just targeting users who are likely to buy with the campaign, but are not likely to buy if they are not contacted. So for this, we need to analyze two things. First, the behavior of the customer if it is contacted with the campaign, and the behavior of the customer if it is not contacted. So for example, here in this graph, we can see the persuadable users. The persuadable users are the ones who won't buy if they do not receive a treatment, but will buy if they receive a treatment. So these are the users who we want to target in Rappi with our campaigns. We do not want to target the sure users because they will buy even if they are contacted or if they are not. And we also want to reduce the costs of, for example, targeting lost causes users because they won't buy even if we contact them or not. And also we don't want to bother the do not disturb users who have a higher probability of buying if they do not receive the treatment. Well, so in conclusion, this Uplift modeling is concerned in the incremental effect of the campaigns. So, for example, if we divided our target of persuadable users into groups one control group and one exposed group. So the exposed group is the one who receives the campaign, and the control group is the one who do not receive the campaign for measurement purposes. We will see a really great difference in the response rate of both groups. So this is the incrementality that the Uplift model generates. Well, so I'll explain this methodology in a more deep way. So first, we defined a user profile. The user profile is based on the variables of the purchase history of a user. And with this user profile, with these variables, we built two machine learning models. So the first model is the incentive model that tells us the probability of response given that the user receives an offer and has a profile X. And then we have a no incentive model that tells us the probability of response given that the user didn't receive the offer. So with these two models, what we do is calculating the difference between both probabilities. So the probability of response given the offer minus the probability of response given that the user didn't receive an offer, and this is the uplift or the incremental effect of the campaign in the user. So well, for building these two models, we used different variables for the users. First, there are users' history variables. For example, the number of discounted orders of the user, the average total value of the user, the number of times he or she used his credit card, and well, other variables of the purchase history of the user. Also, we used segmentation variables based on the longitude and the latitude of the user and the device that the user has. We also have recency variables. That is the days that have passed since the last order of the user. And finally, we have also variables of the app events of the user. That is, for example, the number of app launches that the user made during the last week. So with these variables, we built the model. We had 653,000 customers for our data set. We took the purchase history of the last 6 months. And well, this is like an example of how the data set looks like. So we have each user with the recency variable, the user variables that I explained before, and we have also a record of each time or each day in which the customer receives an incentive, and the response variable, that is if it purchased or not. Well, as we can see, the red rows are the ones in which an incentive was not granted to the users. So these observations, the ones in which an incentive was not granted, are used to train the no incentive model, and the observations in which an incentive was granted are used to train the incentive model. Well, so with this we built the two models that I explained before. And well, we tried with different types of models, random forest, XGBoost. We finally selected XGBoost because of computation time. And well, this is an example of Brazil. We implemented this methodology in 7 countries. So in Brazil, these were the results of the rock area. So it was 0.82 for the incentive model and 0.74 for the no incentive model. And after having these two models, what we had to do was to calculate the uplift, that is the subtraction of the probability of response given the offer minus the probability of response given that the offer was not given. The problem with this is that we cannot subtract the results of the model directly. Why? Because the outputs of the models are not calibrated. I'll explain this a little bit deeper in the next slide. So this is the reliability diagram of the no incentive model for Brazil. So in the x-axis, we can find the predicted value of the model. And in the g-axis, in the y-axis, we can find the fraction of positive cases for this predicted value of the model. So what we should expect is that the points should be close to the diagonal line. Why? Because the predicted value must be approximately the same as the fraction of positive cases for that predicted value. But we can see that this doesn't happen because the outputs of the model are not calibrated. So what we needed to do was to calibrate these outputs of the model. So we did this with isotonic regression, that is one method of calibration. So as we can see, after making the calibration, the points are much closer to the diagonal line. That means that the outputs of the model are better calibrated. So for the isotonic regression, well, I'll explain a little bit more of isotonic regression. So what this method does is fitting a non-decreasing function to a sequence of observations. It's a free-form function. It's not restricted to a type of functions, but it's a free-form function. The only condition is that it's non-decreasing. So, well, we did this methodology with the calibration library of sklearn. We prepared the data, we defined the base model, and then we used the calibrated classifier CV function to fit the model with k-fold cross-validation, and then to calibrate the probabilities of the model. So, well, we finally didn't use this method because of computation time. We needed like a faster approach, but this was like our first approach. What we then made was, having the two models, we divided the outputs of the models in percentiles. So for example, the users who are in the 90 percentile of the incentive model and who are in the 0 percentile of the no incentive model are the ones who are more persuadable, because they have a very high probability of buying with the incentive, but a low probability of buying if they are not given an incentive. So they have more priority for us to be contacted. Then the orange section comes in priority, and so on. So, well, after defining the priorities, what we needed to do was to define to how many users to give the incentives. For doing this, I will define two concepts that are important. So, Rappi has two types of incomes. The first one is organic income, that is the income that comes naturally from users without the need of marketing campaigns or incentives. And the other is the inorganic income, that is the one that comes with offers or with marketing campaigns. So we as a growth team have an income goal, a total income goal, and what we need to do to define the users that we need to grant incentives to is to define the amount of inorganic income that we need to achieve that goal that we have. So, well, what we did was, for predicting this, for estimating this inorganic income that we need, we did a prediction of the organic income, that is the income that comes naturally from Rappi, from users. We predicted this organic income in the time, during all the days of the month, and taking into account the month goal that we have, we can subtract these values and we can obtain the inorganic income that we need to do with our campaigns. So, well, this is the time series of the organic income. We can see that it has like a positive trend, and it also has seasonality, a weekly seasonality and a monthly seasonality. So for predicting this organic income, what we did was also an XGBoost model, because it allowed us to, for example, include variables as the holidays, that are a very important variable for our income. And well, we did this prediction. We got a 4% of a monthly relative error. And well, with this prediction of the organic income, we could find the amount of inorganic income that we should do with our marketing campaigns. And with that amount, we could estimate the number of users that we should grant incentives to with the Uplift modeling. So this is kind of a summary of all the methodology. So first, what we do is predicting the organic income that will come to Rappi naturally from users. With this, then we estimate the inorganic income that we should do with our campaigns. Then we estimate the number of users that we need to contact, and we select the users with our uplift modeling with the priorities. Well, so these are some conclusions that we had from the experiments that we do in our 7 countries. So we saw that this methodology of the uplift modeling has a really important impact because it helps us to target better our users. For example, this is a result for Brazil. The red line is the exposed group, the group that was exposed to the campaigns, and the blue line is the control group. So we can see that there is a very big difference between the response rate of both groups. That means that we are generating incrementality with our campaigns. And well, that means that this modeling helps us to target better our users than what we were doing before in Rappi. Well, that's all. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, at this email. And well, that's all.
Pronto?
Okay, how do you estimate the optimal of eta and gamma in the XGBoost?
Okay, we did it with a grid search, like trying different values. Yeah, that was how we did it.
And the calibration set. You did the model XGBoost, then the calibration, yes? But then the same parameters of the XGBoost are the same in cross-validation calibration, yes?
Yeah. We used, first we found the XGBoost parameters, like we tuned the XGBoost, and after this we used this base model that we found for the calibration.
And the prediction is about the calibration? Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Hi. So how long can it take to do all this study to generate those models?
Well, the training of the models, or like the...
Like since you start, I don't know, recollecting the data and deciding what to use, like the entire process, I'm curious, how long can it take?
Well, the training of the models was really long, like kind of 2 hours, because we did it with a randomized search. Well, we did a randomized search for the first model, the uplift model, and for the forecast model, we did a grid search. So that was what took like the most of the time. But like the process of just running the model and like deciding which users to give, no, it's really fast. For all the 7 countries that we have, daily we spend kind of 45 minutes that all this process runs.
But I mean, since you got this objective of doing some, I don't know, you have some, you need to reach some value of sales of incremental. Like since that moment, how long does it take? Like all this study, like I guess it's months or something like that.
Okay, like the process of doing the, okay. Well, we have been working in this project kind of 2 months ago. Well, but things in Rappi normally are done really fast, the project. So we first launched the first version and we have been working in changes. So I think we have been working in this like 2 months ago.
Thanks for your presentation, very nice work. Do you use GPU acceleration to train your models?
No, we didn't use GPU acceleration, but we used AWS machines, virtual machines. Yeah, because it was really slow in our computers, but we didn't use GPU, just machines in AWS.
Yeah. If you want to do some testing, I can talk to you later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you trained the model, did you use like all the users that may use the application, or you just selected groups just to
For this project, I didn't say it clearly, but this project was just for kind of new users that had between 1 to 4 orders. So we just wanted like to target these users. So what we did was taking a sample of users that were active in Rappi, and we looked at their first 4 orders to train our models. So it was just a sample.
Any more questions? Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.